Football is a game of moments, and it's these moments that are going to decide who stays in the Premier League. On Sunday, we saw probably one of the most controversial moments in recent history in the Premier League with that VAR decision in the Arsenal-West Ham game. And tonight, in our 1-1 draw with Leeds, there was 4 moments from 2 young players which could yet decide whether or not we stay in the top division. In a game that was pretty shockingly low on quality, there were 3 moments of magic from Mathys and Antonin Kinsky, and also a moment of absolute madness that puts our Premier League survival back firmly in the balance. As for moments of magic, let's start with Antonin Kinsky. Now, I'm going to come out and say it. I think this guy, in just 5 games, has already proved that he's one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League. For a 23-year-old goalkeeper with hardly any first-team experience, he is remarkably calm under pressure. And his 2 saves tonight, especially the one from Sean Longstaff towards the end of the game, could literally prove to be worth 200 million quid by the end of the season. Not many goalkeepers in the Premier League would have made those saves that he made tonight. The one in the first half from the header, I can't remember which Leeds player it was from, but especially the one in the second half from Longstaff. I mean, the reflexes, the positioning, unbelievable. Bearing in mind that he had a game against Atletico Madrid away in the Champions League a couple of months ago, which is the stuff of nightmares for a goalkeeper. His resurgence, his mental fortitude and the ability to come back and produce this level of performance is truly remarkable. And I have to say that in the scenario we're in, I've never been more happy that our first choice goalkeeper, by some bizarre coincidence, develops a hernia and can't play the last few games of the season, because if he's in goal, we lose that game tonight. I've also got a little bit of a theory about Vicario's injury. Now, it might be time to put the tin hat on. It sounds like a bit of a conspiracy, but Vicario's got a hernia and he's had an operation on a hernia. Now, I'm very good mates with a lift engineer who had a hernia a little while ago. He was going to work on it nearly every day. He had an operation, and you know what? He was back at work within about 3 days. Rumours are that Vicario's already agreed a deal to go to Inter Milan at the end of the season, and I suspect that Roberto De Zerbi, having seen Kinsky's level of performance, has just said to Vicario, relax, take your time, come back when you're ready. You know, we're still counting on you, come back when you're ready. I think Vicario could play, and I think De Zerbi has recognised that Kinsky is by far the better goalkeeper, and we're better off sticking with him to the end of the season. I also have to mention that those that watch this channel regularly will know that I have heavily criticised the higher-ups, the sporting department, the scouts, but you know what? They deserve a huge amount of credit for identifying this young goalkeeper, because I'd never heard of him. They basically plucked him from obscurity, and look at what he's producing on the pitch. He's been an absolute revelation. Moving on to Mathys. What a night that guy had, Jesus. When he first came to the club, I mean, again, you can go back and watch my first few videos on this channel. When he first came to the club, I wasn't convinced about this guy at all, and I actually criticised him quite a lot. What I liked about him was I could see he was determined. I could see he had drive. Even in his very first game under Postecoglou, I remember he came off the bench, and I think he was 19 or something at the time, and straight away he was shouting at his teammates, willing them forward, encouraging them to do more on the pitch. I really liked that about him. But then ability-wise, I just didn't think he had it. I didn't think he had it at all. And then when we made the decision to sign him permanently in the summer for around 30 million quid, personally, I thought it was absolute money down the fucking gurgler. But you know what? Hats off to the young man. That initial desire, that determination, that drive that I identified him fairly early on has turned out also to be belief and perseverance, because if you remember, even at the start of the season, he was left out of the Champions League squad by Thomas Frank because he wasn't deemed good enough to play at that level. But he's come into the team, he's become a really important player. And you know what? Without him, we could already be dead and buried by now. I think Jamie Carragher in this clip has got it absolutely spot on. Watch this.
Ridiculous decisions in this game. You mentioned the one in the first half where he crosses across his own box and he does that. And De Zerbi will be furious. But he's got to remember he's a young attacking player who has actually made a massive difference to Spurs right now. He came off the bench at Wolves. He got the corner, got the winning goal. He set up a goal at Aston Villa, the second goal. He scored a goal tonight, and that's the conundrum managers have. You know someone's going to
needs him.
He needs him.
Can't lose him.
He needs him because they haven't got players, the injuries, but there's no doubt there's a player there.
The penalty that Tell gave away was obviously a moment of absolute madness. I mean, why would you ever attempt a clearance like that in your own box? But this is the gamble that you take when you rely on young players. It's only a huge deal in the context of the situation we're in. You know, if we're hovering around mid-table and got nothing to play for, he gives away that penalty, you say, okay, bit stupid, but don't worry about it. It's only because of the situation we're in that it's a massive deal. But you know what? He's a young player. He's going to make mistakes. This is the gamble you take. He gives you that moment of brilliance in the 50th minute with that amazing goal, but then he also gives away that penalty. And it's just the way young players are. They're inconsistent. They do stupid things. They do brilliant things. You know, with experience, they come up to the level and they cut those stupid mistakes out of their game. There's no need to kill him. We need him for the next 2 games. We take our medicine, we move on. Aside from obviously telling Kinsky, there's some other talking points that I want to address, and let me know what you guys think, see whether you agree or if there's anything else you want to talk about, drop it in the comments. But the first thing I have to say is I thought the referee was absolutely abysmal tonight. And I hate doing this. I hate criticising referees. I know they've got a very tough job, but I thought Jared Gillett was really, really poor tonight. He just got so many small decisions wrong. I felt like he favoured Leeds a little bit in the 50-50 challenges. There were instances where Leeds players were committing fouls that were just as kind of violent as the fouls we were committing, but we seemed to be getting yellow cards for them, and their players seemed to be getting off scot-free. I mean, there was quite a few of those, to be fair. I mean, the Polina one in the second half comes to mind, where he just sort of jumps towards the ball and lands on the guy's foot and gets a yellow card for it. But in the first half, there's a tackle on Mathys Tell. I can't remember which Leeds player it was, but he misses the ball. He mistimes the tackle. He comes in, studs up straight on the front of Tell's shin, just gets away with a free kick. Like, what the fuck's going on there? And also, let me just say, punishing De Zerbi for coming out of his technical area. Mate, are you having a fucking laugh? Have you seen the geezer from the red side of town this season? He practically lives on the pitch, jumping up and down like a jack in the box and never gets punished for it. Never even gets spoken to. I mean, all the managers in the Premier League do it. I mean, fucking, it's unbelievable. It just felt like one of those nights. And like I say, I hate criticising referees, but I thought we had a bad one tonight. Listen, the penalty shout at the end on Maddison, it wasn't a penalty. The guy gets a toe on the ball. The penalty we conceded, that was also a penalty. So the VAR got that right. No complaints there. But I thought his general performance was poor, and you know, we need a better standard of refereeing in this country, because I think it's been absolutely abysmal in the Premier League this season. Anyway, we move on. The second thing I want to talk about is Richarlison, and he had one of those games tonight where he looked like he had his boots on the wrong feet. You know, his touch was absolutely abysmal. He was losing all his physical challenges. He had 2 amazing chances. One in the first half where he was put through on goal, took a heavy touch. Again in the second half when Kolo Muani squares the ball to him in the area. Yes, it comes at him quite fast, but it's at a nice height. Mate, you're a Premier League player. You're a Brazilian international. You were Brazil's number 9 for a couple of years. You know, you've got to at least get that chance on target. You've got to test the goalkeeper in at least one of those scenarios. And I thought he was really poor tonight. Hopefully, you know, he does have games like this. So hopefully he gets it out of his system. He's had one of those nights, gets his shooting boots back on for the Chelsea and Everton game and does a lot better than he did tonight. But tonight I thought he was poor, and he really needs to up his performance in the next 2 games. The next thing I want to talk about is how good was it to see our number 10 back on the pitch, Mathys. Now, first of all, he fucking looks the part, doesn't he? He looks fucking amazing, the guy. But you know what? He came on. He's come back from an ACL injury. We know that that's one of the worst injuries in football. Probably an ACL and an Achilles are the 2 worst. Players take a long time to get back to any sort of level. I remember in the past, the example I always think of is Fernando Torres. Done an ACL, came back, was never the same player. Likewise, Rodri, done an ACL, came back into the Premier League this season. It took him quite a few games to get up to speed. Mathys looked very, very sharp. He looked like he still had a little turn of pace. He was taking responsibility. He was calling for the ball at every opportunity, trying to make things happen. You know, I think and I suspect he could play a really big role in these next 2 games. We can't play him for the full 90 minutes, that's clear. But if we can bring him on a little bit earlier and a little bit earlier again in the next 2 games, maybe 70th minute in the Chelsea game, maybe 60th, or, you know, even bring him on at half-time in the Everton game on the final day of the season, he can make a really big impact. And it's a massive, massive boost to have him back for us. Welcome back, Mathys. We've missed you, mate. And lastly, you know, obviously I'm a Spurs fan, but I'm also an admirer of great footballers. And Ethan Ampadu, what a player this guy is. I mean, I identified him earlier in the season, actually, when I was doing a video about January transfer targets, and I said that obviously we can't get in this season, but he's someone we should definitely look into in the summer, because he is a really, really good player. He's one of the best defensive midfielders in the Premier League, there's no doubt about it. He's composed, he's robust, he's physical, he's good in the tackle. I thought he was probably man of the match tonight. He's a really, really top player. It's a shame that he came from Chelsea, and he probably wouldn't want to sign for us. You know, obviously we have to stay in the Premier League first. I think we will. But we should make an inquiry all the same, because he is a top player, a leader of men. And I'd love to see him in a white Spurs shirt. So that's it for this video. We go to Chelsea next. We know that we hardly ever win there. I think the last time we did was, I think it was 2018, Dele Alli. But look, it's a crazy season. It's time to make history. We have Kinsky. We have Tell. Mathys is coming back. We have Polinia, Bentancur. These boys can produce better than what they showed tonight. So let's go there. Let's beat Chelsea. Let's put this to bed. In De Zerbi we trust. Come on, you Spurs. See you on the next one.